Hello guys, I just wanted to make a quick little video here about the up and coming TTK changes. I'm not reading from a script. I'm not really, experienced in commentaries, but I'll do my best. So the TTK patch, once again we hit with another TTK patch that nobody wanted. I guess I'm going to give DICE a little bit of a benefit of the doubt until we see the patch, because they say they're changing the rate of fire on weapons. They're giving weapons better recall, supposedly. And they want better weapons that better suit their role. Well, after looking at the graphs they've shown us, it's just across the board. The time to kill is going to be hugely increased, especially if they keep the same recall system that they have. Back before the game was released, DICE promised us sort of like a predictable recall pattern. They talked about CSGO, they mentioned games like that. Well, what we got was not that whatsoever. It's really random, and it's actually, I would prefer Battlefield 4, where the gun would recoil to a certain way, but you'd have the spread. But at least when you got the gun recalling a same consistent way, you can kind of counter the spread by tap firing. This game, you just got to pray and hope, because half the time, especially when you're suppressed, you get shot at. It's just your gun just fucking goes haywire, and you can't really, it's hard to hit your target sometimes. And you try, as hard as you try, because it goes left, it goes right, it goes everywhere. Well, I wouldn't mind the TTK to be slower if they reduced the overall recoil and gave weapons an overall higher rate of fire. So it kind of counteracts. Well, I mean, I guess TTK changes wouldn't be changing the rate of fire, because if they wanted to change the TTK, then that would mean if they were giving weapons higher rate of fire, that means that wouldn't change the TTK, because if they're giving the lower damage, then that's, I don't know, maybe that's probably the better way, the way I hope they go about it. That's, they mean TTK, but what they really mean is this lower damage, higher rate of fire. I wouldn't mind that, because that kind of counteracts it. It's not ideal, but it's probably the best that I can hope for, is what they're doing. The best thing about it, though, is the MMGs especially are getting a nerf. I mean, one good thing that comes out of it is that the MMGs are going to be they're getting really hard nerf. They're getting down to 13 shots at range. It's 100 meters, but it's still over time. They're getting changes. So that's pretty much what they're doing. What I would do, especially when they mention the medic weapons and the other guns. Okay, so you've got two relevant medic weapons, right? The two most relevant. It's the Tommy and the Swami. The reason why they're the two most relevant is because they have 50 rounds and they have the highest rate of fire in the class. The issue when the game came out, everyone complained that some of the medic weapons were irrelevant. They were being outgunned by, assault rifles in close quarters. It's because DICE added slow rate of fires to all of them. The Sten, the MP40, EMP, MP34, these guns aren't relevant because they got 500 rate of fire. That's why they're getting shit on. It doesn't matter if their hip fire is slightly better. You need the rate of fire. That's what kills them. If you don't have rate of fire, then you have damage. So either you can do a COD route where they have the submachine guns, so they do huge damage real up close and it drops off real hard, so it keeps them locked within that range. Which is, I know, it's sort of a good idea, but it's hard to implement in Battlefield. Or I just buff the rate of fires of all of them a little bit more. So take the Sten up to 600, take the fucking MP40 up to 600 as well, keep the same recoil values, but just increase fire rates of the slower rate of fire SMGs across the board. That would fix them quite easily, make them more relevant. The MP28 is still bad. It needs to be patched. I don't know why that gun has more, or sometimes it feels like it has more recoil than the Swami, even though it fires a lot slower. There's better options they can have, the Type 100. It's one of the best SMGs at the moment, and it's got a high rate of fire. It's got no recoil. There's no reason to use any of the other slower rate of fire weapons. Well, at least if you can control them. If you can control them, then there's no reason to use the slow rate of fire weapon, because you control it. But the control, they just need to better balance their weapons and stop suiting to this real life oh, this weapon has this rate of fire in real life, then it has to have this rate of fire in game, because that just doesn't work for balance purposes. It's like in Battlefield 1 when they kept adding LMGs and they're like, oh, we give you an extra 50 rounds and an extra 50 rounds, but it's got slower rate of fire with each one. It's just, no, we don't care if it's got extra 50 rounds. The initial TTK, the initial 10 rounds in a gunfight is what matters. If you can't win because you're locked away because of that shitty rate of fire, then it's just not going to help. Yeah, that's just my opinion on it. I wish DICE would go a better route than just changing this TTK, but like I said, I don't mind if we get higher rate of fire across the board, we get better recoil across the board, then that would be okay. And plus we're getting RSP, so it's a positive for a negative. Thank you.